No background music, Ty. Right to this tonight. This is Brews and Bets, UFC 231, Holloway versus Ortega. My name's Steve Ricciardi. Joined as always is Ty Slice. Ty, how we doing?
I'm doing pretty well. We just knocked it out of the park on the Quant Edge podcast. So gonna give a little brief overview of who we like for bets on the undercard. Kind of get into a little bit of detail. But if you guys want to hear our undercard breakdowns, definitely check us out on the Quant Edge. It's well worth the money.
Yeah, and we've had I've had a couple good weeks. Last week, can I vent one more time? I might as well just do it, right? I absolutely hate Tyson Pedro at this point. Again, the one thing that I did in my write-up last week is I said, I don't know if we can trust him, but I did trust him. Rua looked terrible in his fight against Anthony Smith. And, of course, he has an opportunity. He has the opportunistic headbutt. Rua was damaged early in that first round, and Tyson Pedro, honestly, the most damage he did all fight was that headbutt. I still don't even know what was wrong with his foot or his leg, whatever happened at the end of that fight. I mean, he basically just fell over like a baby deer. So I don't know what the hell happened, but Tyson Pedro is dead to me. Ty, anything else to add?
Well, when we were talking about that fight on the Quant Edge, I actually suggested using Shogun in a few GPP lineups. Didn't get him in mine for whatever reason, just a complete oversight when making the lineups. Ended up costing me. So I don't hate Pedro as much as you, but I kind of kick it myself that I didn't use Shogun.
Yeah, I was at plus 500 profit on DraftKings before the Tyson Pedro fight, and I had a lot of Pedro and I had a lot of JDS. So it would have been a very good night. Unfortunately, now my night was a losing night because all my GPPs with Pedro crashed and burned, and all those GPP lineups with Rua obviously shot up to the top of the leaderboard there. So
well, and I know you were on JDS, and I was on Tuivasa, but I actually think that Tui looked pretty good in that fight. I think that he was.
I thought he looked really good, actually.
Yeah, I know he was real down after the fight, but you just went in there with the former champion, went toe to toe, and he was winning the fight at the point of the knockout, and it's a good thing for him for the future. I think I'm expecting good things.
I think his problem in that fight was he was too aggressive. Mm-hmm. He did his damage and he didn't get out of there. He did his damage and he thought that he was just going to keep walking through. And to do that, you're going to have to eat punches, right? Eventually, the guy, you try to walk through somebody, they're going to punch back. Yeah. And unfortunately, when JDS was able to connect, he was able to connect in the right spot and really do some damage. But I think if Tui would have just, systematically, kind of a JDS's approach, right? Box you up, systematically box you up. And again, if he does that, if Tui does that, he's able to hurt his opponent so much more than JDS is at this point in his career.
Yeah, but I think that's going to be a learning lesson for him, and I think that he's going to come back stronger and make a pretty big impact on the heavyweight division.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. So let's get right into this card. Our first fight of the night is Thiago Santos and Jimmy Manuwa, and we're kind of on opposite ends of the spectrum here. But I like Jimmy Manuwa, and I'm gonna call. Actually, did this line tighten up a little bit now that I'm looking at it? Santos is minus 190. Manuwa is plus 165. I thought I was going to get more of a price on Manuwa by knockout. But I kind of like Jimmy Manuwa to use his boxing range here. I think he's going to, crowd Santos, not let him have that range that he wants and that he's used to. Against Eric Anders, if you listen to Eric Anders' coach on tape, Anders' coach keeps telling him exactly what I was thinking. Santos doesn't like it when you're in his face. And it's what his coach kept telling him in the corner. Unfortunately, Anders fought a very good fight, but he just gassed out. But I think Manuwa's gonna be able to stay in Santos's face, and I think this fight ends in the first or second round. So Ty, again, tell me why I'm wrong.
Yeah, so I'm on complete opposite end of this. I think that Santos is by far the better striker. Pretty much all Manuwa has is his hands. He's a boxer. Santos is going to use his kicks. If he gets in close, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets him in a clinch and uses some knees. I think that this is probably going to be a first-round knockout for Santos. as far as the line goes, as far as betting, I think that minus 190 is not terrible. I'm gonna personally jump on it. Like I told you on our other podcast, I'm driving out to the casino for this fight card, and we'll talk about the reason why a little bit later on. But Santos by knockout minus 125. I don't hate that either, and I kind of like him to win in the first round at plus 175 also. I don't know which one I'm going to bet on, but I know that I'm going to have some action on Santos's side.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Manuel. Wins by KO TKO. I think I like that one. Plus 240. That's where I'm going. Listen, you know what? You can't have a big play here if you're not willing to risk a little bit. And I think I'm going to take him in Tout Master too. I just think I feel something about Jimmy Manuel in this fight. I don't know. I could be completely wrong and pie in my face after this.
I think that you getting the extra juice on the by knockout. I think that if you're going to play Manoa, that's the way to do it, because the only way he's going to win is by knockout. He's not going to outpoint him.
No, I totally agree with that. Hakeem Dawodu and Kyle Bochniak, and I think we're kind of on the same page with this fight. I just don't think that Dawodu has a game plan that I'm comfortable with, and I'm very comfortable with Kyle Bochniak's game plan. And his game plan was basically on display in that Brandon Davis fight. If you go back to that fight, lots of movement. Davis was chasing him. I think he's going to make Dawodu chase him. I think he's going to be able to crowd him a little bit, strike and get out of the pocket. And when Bochniak strikes and kicks, he really puts a lot of power into those strikes and kicks. But he's going to be on his bicycle most of this fight, especially in the first round. And I think, again, when he goes to his corner after round one, if Bochniak's corner thinks that he won round one, I think you're going to see more of the same in round two. So I don't think it bodes well. Once he gets that first round down, I think Dawodu is going to have to really kind of change his game plan, and I think Bochniak is going to be fine. Vice versa, conversely, if Bochniak is down after one round, I think that second round he's going to have to, make a decision at the 2-minute mark. Is he going to engage more, or is he going to stay on his bicycle and try to close distance strike? Round three, again, if he's down 2 rounds, he's going to go, balls to the wall and try to get this fight won. But Bochniak, I think, is going to be able to control this fight. I think it's going to be played out as his pace. I don't think it's going to be played out at Dawodu's pace, and I think Dawodu is a hype train that really Bochniak can crash and burn here. So, Ty, are we on the same page? Or
yeah, to an extent. Like I said earlier, I just don't think Dawodu is really that good of a fighter. I mean, by the same token, Bochniak, not really either. So I don't know why this fight's on the main card. I don't really have a feeling one way or another with looking at the betting line. I could see a small play on Bochniak. I'm personally not going to do it, but I wouldn't hate it.
And again, I think the reason that this is on the main card is just because they needed somebody from Canada, right? Dawodu is the only Canadian on the main card, I believe, and there's really not many Canadians on this card at all. You know what I mean? They only have a handful. So we get into this next fight, Ty, and this next fight is actually a really good fight. It's one that I'm looking forward to. Hopefully I can stay up this time because I've been falling asleep during some of these cards and then waking up for the main events. But Alex Oliveira and Gunnar Nelson is a pretty good fight. I think it's a strict classic event, fight where you have a grappler versus a striker. Alex Oliveira, he needs to take the center of the ring and just strike. He does usually go for takedowns, 3.45 takedowns per fight. I just don't think that that's in his best interest here. Again, Gunnar Nelson is a black belt. Renzo Gracie, I believe, black belt. I guess the bad thing is he trains out of SBG Ireland. But again, after he got knocked out by Ponzinibbio, he took an 18-month layoff. So you just don't know how he's going to come back and perform in this fight. So I think that there's a nice play that you can make on Oliveira. If you're going to play Oliveira, I think you want to play him by KO TKO at plus 215. I think that's a great price. I don't think he wins. First of all, I don't think this fight goes to decision, and I don't think that Oliveira wins I don't think he wins by sub. I just don't think that Gunnar Nelson. I mean, he would have to hurt Gunnar Nelson on the feet and then grab a sub. He's not going down to the ground and subbing Gunnar Nelson. So, and I think Gunnar Nelson's path to victory is going to be by submission. That's plus 135. So you can actually get plus money both ways on those two bets if you wanted to. Not a bad way to do it. So, Ty, what do you think here?
Yeah, so I really don't know what to think about this fight. Just from the standpoint that Gunnar just got knocked out 18 months ago brutally. I don't know where his head's at, but I have to think that physically and mentally he's affected by that because he took such a long time off. Cowboy's going to keep this fight standing. Gunner's going to want to take it down to the ground. If Gunner wins, it's going to be by submission. Right now, I'm not really sure how I'm going to attack this one. I'm kind of just leaning towards Oliveira straight, but right now I don't know. But that being said, when I'm at the casino, I'm probably going to have some action on it. It's probably not going to be as significant an action as some of the other fights.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I may put a couple unit parlay both ways on the Nelson sub prop at plus 135 and Oliveira TKO at the plus 215 because you're making money either way. And I just think that those are the two likely paths to victory. So, call me crazy and betting against myself, but whatever. We'll figure it out.
And a parlay plus money is gonna pay dividends anyway.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Joanna and Valentina. So Ty, you have a pretty strong take here. So I think I'm going to throw this one right to you. But who do you like in this fight, Joanna, Valentina?
So pretty much everybody thinks that this fight's going to go to a decision. I don't. I think it's going to be ended pretty quickly. I watched the three fights, the three Muay Thai fights that Shevchenko and Joanna had. There were three strikes that Shevchenko landed consistently about 90% of the time. She landed a teep kick, which, I mean, that just keeps distance and keeps Joanna, at guard. But she followed it up with a straight that slipped through every single time. Joanna never blocked it. And then the overhand right that she used, she landed it, and they were big shots. And granted, it was with boxing gloves at the time. If those land with Muay Thai or with MMA gloves, that's going to have a significant effect. And Joanna hasn't really closed that hole in her game. She's still susceptible to that overhand. Shevchenko taught Rose how to do that for her fight. Rose caught her with it twice in their first fight, and a few other times in their second fight. And in the first fight, that's what knocked her down twice, put her out. So she still hasn't closed that hole in her game. And so I think that Shevchenko is going to be able to use that attack. But one thing that I actually noticed that was interesting is every single time Joanna threw a kick, Shevchenko was able to catch it and flip her on her head. In Muay Thai, that's just the dominant position. But in mixed martial arts, she could follow her to the ground, and now she's in side control, and she has a clear advantage. Shevchenko is by far the better grappler. I wouldn't be surprised if she gets a first round submission here. Right now, the odds for Shevchenko winning by submission are plus 425. And if you want to be bold and take her to win in the first round, like I think she is, she's plus 600. And so I'm going to have action on both of those because I think that this fight is really one-sided. I'm going to have more money on her to win by submission, but I'm going to throw a few bucks on her to win also. And to win in round one also. And I think I might actually just put some inside the distance just in case I'm wrong on the round.
Yeah, and I'm going to take this opportunity to not talk about this fight. Well, the thing about this fight is I thought about betting it a few weeks ago. I do have a sizable parlay, $300 parlay on a fighter on this card and Cyborg, and it's Claudia Gadelha. So I put a $300 parlay on Gadelha. When I got her, I believe she was minus 210 or minus 220, something like that, and that price has shot up. And I thought about betting Valentina at the price, but she was already minus 300. And I was kind of shocked that she was at the time. And I was a little shocked that Cyborg was in the minus 220 range also. I could look it up. It was on the draft. I'm from Jersey, so it's from the DraftKings app. I was using DraftKings in Jersey. But I really like the numbers on those parlays. So I think Adelia gets get the deal done here. So instead of talking about this Shevchenko fight, which again I agree with Ty, I think she's going to win the fight. Ty is pretty adamant about it early, finishing early. I kind of feel like it's going to go to decision, like everybody else does. But I think Adelia is going to be able to get a win here too, and I think she's. I mean, her and Valentina are at the same price basically at this point, right? Minus 340, minus 335.
Yeah,
So
and
take your pick.
well, and if even if you wanted to parlay that, if you just want action on the two fights, I think those are both pretty safe.
Yeah, I would agree with you with that. So the main event, and again, I'll ask the obvious question that it seems like everybody's asking, and I think Ty and are in agreement with the answer. But is Max Holloway's health going to be an issue or not? So Ty, I'll let your answer. Max Holloway, with all the medicals that they do pre-fight and everything else, what you saw on film today, what you've seen on film during the week, is Max Holloway's health where it's supposed to be for this fight?
Yeah, so I think that actually is being way overblown here. I know that when we seen him on the Bisping interview, when he interviewed with Bisping and Florian before their last fight, it was really scary, especially to see somebody stumbling like that so close to their fight. It's a big danger, and it sticks out in your mind. But I think that people are overreacting to that, and really, it's not that much of an issue. If you look at Max Holloway is always a little bit slow. It's that island style. He talks really slow, and he comes off that way. And today or I think it was actually yesterday at the pre-fight press conferences, he was answering questions, pretty quick-witted for himself. Still like that slow draw that he has, but he didn't seem like he was too affected. And so I'm not really concerned about his health at all. I actually think that this is a very one-sided fight. And right now we're getting Max Holloway at minus 110. If there was no concern about his health, I think that he would be at least minus 200 in this fight. And I mean, I get off work on Saturday at around 9 or 10 o'clock. I'm going to be driving to the casino 3 hours just to place money on this fight. I'm going to put a significant amount of money on the fight. My girlfriend's not going to like it because she's a big T-City fan, but she could complain over the steak and lobster dinner that I'm going to give her.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, we didn't arrange this until the Quant Edge podcast. So again, if anybody wants some DraftKings information, Tyler and I, we both provide the content for the Quant Edge. I'll have an article out tomorrow. I'm halfway through it now. When we finish this call, we will. I'm gonna get myself something to eat and then try to get most of my article done. After weigh-ins tomorrow, I'll finalize the article and send it out for editing. Tyler does the same thing. He has an article he usually lets out Friday night, I believe, and I think he's going to do that again this week. But we're in agreement with Max Holloway. I just think that he has the striking advantage. I'm going to throw it back to Tyler in a minute because he had some great stats before. So Tyler, just let you get those stats together. But I think that Max Holloway has a huge striking advantage. And I don't think Brian Ortega really has a way to get this fight to the ground where he can work his BJJ. His BJJ is outstanding, but on the feet, I know he did. I think it was Cub Swanson, right, that he submitted on the feet. It was a standing guillotine. But for the most part, he needs to get it to the ground to really work his BJJ game. I can pick apart his fights. Go back to the Moicano fight. Moicano was basically beating him 2.5 rounds until Moicano, for whatever reason, decided to try to take him down. That didn't work well. Played Moicano in that fight. Frankie Edgar, I think that the issue with Frankie Edgar fight is the obvious issue. Frankie is a wrestler, but you can't really threaten use the wrestling as a threat because you don't want to bring Ortega down to the ground. So again, Frankie, because he's got the shorter range and the shorter distance, really has to get inside, and getting inside usually doesn't hurt him because he's able to grapple with you, clinch you up, take you down. Unfortunately, with Ortega, he didn't want to do that, and he wound up catching an elbow, and then obviously there were a couple punches there that, his first knockout in his UFC career. I don't think that's going to happen here with Max. Max is able to keep his distance. I think he's going to stay away from Ortega in terms of, striking in the pocket until he feels comfortable getting into that pocket. But again, Max is a stud. So if Ortega is going to beat him, more power to you. But my money's on Holloway. So Ty, I assume you have those stats. There were some pretty good stats that you had mentioned before.
Yeah, so there's really two telling things that are about this fight, and that being said, I don't think that Ortega is that good of a fighter. He's been losing every single round of every single UFC fight that he's ever had, and he just pulls a submission or knockout out of nowhere. I don't think he's going to be able to do that versus Max. So going to the stats, to the metrics, Max Holloway lands a little bit over 6 strikes per minute, which is a really, really high output. Ortega gets hit by over 5 strikes per minute versus normal fighters that don't have that significant a volume. So what that tells me is that Max is going to be able to just pick him apart. He's going to use his volume and he's going to land at will. So Ortega is going to be looking to get this to the ground, but he only goes for 0.22 takedowns per fight. So he really doesn't try to get this fight to the ground much. And when he does, he only has a 14% success rate. So what that tells me is he's not a good wrestler. So this fight is likely going to stay standing unless something happens to get it to the ground. But it's not going to be Ortega getting it to the ground pretty much. Max Holloway's takedown defense is at 83%. So he's really hard to take down. Ortega's just going to struggle everywhere. It's gonna be fought in Max's realm, and Ortega's pretty much just going to be at the disposal of Max to do whatever he wants in this fight. If he can get Max in close, I wouldn't be surprised if he tries some flying triangles, flying arm bars. I think Max is experienced enough that he's going to stay out of that range. He has a pretty smart fight IQ. I'm not really too worried about this fight. I think this is a really one-sided fight.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you. I think the way that I'm going to play it, I was kind of hoping the line flipped and I could get Holloway at plus 100, but minus 110 is fine. So I'm going to wait until weigh-ins tomorrow. And I know you tried to talk me out of that, but I feel more comfortable doing that. I think I want to put a decent amount of money on Holloway minus 110, and then I want to throw a sprinkle on Holloway by KO, TKO. Right now it's plus 361 on best fight odds. So I think I'm going to do maybe like a $250 bet. Go ahead, Ty, I hear you.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that I think that Holloway is going to pick him apart and knock him out, because you have to figure Holloway just disposed of Jose Aldo. If this fight stays standing, is Jose Aldo even near the caliber of striker as Aldo? Not even close. And so you have to think that if Ortega doesn't get it down, this is going to be 5 rounds where Holloway is just going to pick him apart. It's not going to go 5 rounds. And I think that if you think that it's going to stay standing like we do, the over-under right now is 3.5 rounds. So you're getting a really good value at Holloway winning by TKO on plus 361, because Holloway's not going to submit Ortega. And yeah, I think this is just easy money here.
Yeah, I agree with you. So that basically brings us to the end of the card. So the one thing I guess I would say, the Quan Edge, if anybody wants a subscription, you basically have 3 fights coming up in this month. 1 week subscription you can get for $5. I believe if you go to the Quan Edge, that you don't even need a code. I don't think. You can just get a 1 week $5 thing. If you want to get all 3 weeks and get a month of the UFC package, you can use our code Brews, or you can use code UFC to get that package, and you will get the 3 remaining fights left in this month of December. And again, the next time that we will in 2019 cover a card, it'll be for ESPN 1, and I will be there. So that's the fight that was just named. Ty's a little jealous. He was hoping to be able to find that fight over in Anaheim, right? It was in the second ESPN. It was the ESPN 2 in Anaheim. Was that right?
No, I think that one's a pay-per-view.
Oh, that was the pay-per-view. So they took this fight, the TJ Dillashaw Henry Cejudo fight. They took off the pay-per-view and moved it to ESPN for ESPN 1. There were rumors of another fight pretty big fight being the co-main event today. I can't remember the fight. I thought I sent it to Ty and I didn't, but I could look it up on Twitter. But yeah, that's about it for me. So I'm Steve Ricciardi. Ty, any last words? My clean shaven co-partner, co-host here, Tyler Beard.
Nah, the beard is going to be coming back. I had to shave for work today. Not very happy about it. Got the baby face going on. I don't like it. But yeah, one other thing I wanted to say about this card, Matthew Lopez is right now plus 160. I think we're both in agreement that he has a pretty significant chance to win. I don't hate that, and if you want to throw some money at that one, I fully support that, and I suggest doing that.
Yeah, and again, the one thing about Lopez too, if you really want to gamble, he looks to wrestle and he looks to take the back. So, there's a possibility you could lock in a sub there with Matthew Lopez if you really want to gamble on that fight. But yeah, I don't disagree with you there.
Yeah, right, I like Lopez at plus 160, but if you really think that he's going to win by submission, which is not out of the realm of possibility, he's right now plus 1,035, which, I mean, that's good enough for a play for me.
And again, just go watch his last fight. I mean, he takes the back, right? He wrestles and he takes people's back. Yeah. So that's not a bad play at all.
If you put a unit on him and even a quarter unit on him by sub, I mean, it's worth it.
Shit, I may put $100 on it. Let's just go for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right, so I got to get something to eat here, guys. It was great to see everybody again. We missed the show last week with the double card and trying to get all our Quan Edge stuff out. We just didn't have enough time. It's also basketball season, so I'm in basketball season. I got a scrimmage tomorrow. Tyler's busy with the kids. He was with his daughter last night at a performance. So it's getting to a busy time of year. So again, Brews and Bets, UFC 231, Holloway versus Ortega. Hopefully you guys win some money. From Steve Ricciardi and Tyler Beard, we're signing off.